Check, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Turn it up.
Welcome to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast.
The tides are turning. The time is now.
Your home for the mindset, methodology, and tools needed to invest in foreclosures.
Don't you dare buy a house. Buy a deal. You need to get into this right now.
Yeah.
And now your host, the Foreclosure Deals Coach, Donnie Corum.
Hello, and welcome back to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. I am your host and Foreclosure Deals Coach, Donnie Corum. I could probably say this before every interview show, but I am really excited about today's show. We have a guest today that is just a completely making waves, changing the game in wholesaling. A lot to discuss about starting a wholesaling business, now coaching on wholesaling, bringing in people all across the country and spreading the image. We're going to get right to it. Without further ado, but before we bring her on, actually, let's talk. How you doing, Jay? What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Things are pretty good. I've been really active recently, getting out, running around, getting exercise. I just got a new bike, so I've been riding that and stuff too. But it's like working out, because I walked into the bank the other day and they're like, "Hey man, you've been working out? You're looking pretty." I'm like, I don't know, man, maybe. They're like, "You're looking pretty good, you're looking thin." I'm like, "Oh, wow. Okay. I guess it's doing something."
I'm not going to say no. You know what I mean? I'm all about that. Yeah, I've been working out. What are you talking about?
Yeah, man. I do this all the time. This is actually how I walk around. But
I love it. All right. Hey, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Miss Gabrielle Simmons, Diamond Home Buyers, to the show today. How the hell are you, Gabrielle?
I'm doing good. I love the applause.
Yeah, we got a lot of people. We packed them all into our little studio here, and they didn't even know they were coming. They thought this was a magic show, so we're gonna let them keep.
We're gonna talk about the magic of how I turn what people think is no deals in the market into deals.
Hey, that's incredible. So let's get to that right out of the gate. Gabrielle, you are a wholesaler with Diamond Home Buyers. Tell me a little background. Where are you based out of? What give me just the backstory. I don't know who you are, but give the people what they want here. Who are you and what do you do?
Okay, so I'm Gabrielle Simmons, as mentioned, also known as Investor Lady G. Hashtag check me out on Instagram. I am in the Colorado Springs, Colorado market, and wholesaling multiple houses every single month, along with my badass team. Hopefully I'm allowed to say that on
You are allowed to say we are
Yeah.
totally a family-friendly show, but we let that go pretty often. So
ass is acceptable.
Yeah,
Most
it is.
cases.
It's part of the okay, anyway.
tell me about that. First of all, what is wholesaling? I mean, I know we do a lot about, on the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast, we talk a lot about investing in real estate. We're the mindset, methodology, and tools to be a successful real estate investor. But wholesaling is a whole nother niche in and of itself. So describe the wholesaling process from your perspective. How does wholesaling work if you're talking to somebody who had no idea?
So to keep it short and sweet, wholesaling is taking out the traditional idea that you need a real estate agent to buy or sell a house.
Okay.
So what I do as a wholesaler is I contact people who own houses directly, and I offer them cash for their house, and I give them great deals. We're buying at a fair price, that we also offer lots of flexible options for them that make it appealing to them as opposed to the traditional way of selling their house.
Okay.
And then, I also offer being able to close quickly. And I can do that because I work with awesome investors such as the Donnie Corum, who's
baby.
always
That's him.
buying
There
the
he
houses that I find, and can close quickly, and as little as 3 to 5 days, so that's something that these people don't normally see when they're considering their options to sell their house.
Right. And it's funny you bring that up because, obviously the market's super hot right now. So one thing that I'm hearing a lot, I'm guessing you're hearing a lot right now, is there are no deals on the marketplace. Are there deals on the marketplace to buy cash? Or we're going to talk about where you get the cash here in a second, because that's kind of impressive. But talk to me about where you said you're going out and reaching out to sellers. How do you contact the sellers to find out if they want to take cash for their home?
What do you mean? What's my
what's your contact method? How do you get what's your target market? How do you get them to talk to you? What's the initial part of the conversation? Where does it start?
Sure. So we have a strategy that we mostly text. We do some cold calling, but we're contacting people who have liens on their houses, pre-foreclosure. They live out of state. They have a lot of equity in the house. all of that can be obtained through county records.
Okay.
And it's free to actually obtain the list. Then we got to pay to skip trace it to find the people's phone numbers.
All right, let's talk about skip tracing. So you get a list of names. So I'm a homeowner. I got a lien on my property. I might be a motivated seller. You don't know yet, right? So you have to reach out to me. So you go to what you called skip tracing. Describe that to me. What is skip tracing? Skip
tracing is an online service. There's multiple different websites. There's skiptrace.com. And I punch in the list that I got for free from the county site, and I punch in this list, and it's going to pull up from lots of different records, but some of it's like even credit checks. It's going to give me phone numbers, emails, their mailing address, and the address or addresses of properties that these people own.
Right. Okay.
So I mean, I'm still blind at this point.
Right. But I don't know if they want to sell it all yet.
No.
So all this work has gone into just the theory that this guy may want a cash offer on his home.
Correct.
Right. And I want you guys to hear that part, okay? Because we're going to get to how many deals you're doing in a minute, because that's going to blow your mind. I want you guys to stay tuned. But the opening process sounds like a lot of work. Like you're going off the theory that this guy even wants to hear from you. He's got a lien on his property, so he might be in a financial jam. But as you're reaching out, how many of these people are happy to hear from you? Like, what's the percentage of people who are like, oh my God, thank God you called?
Very few.
Very few, right?
Yeah. See, I work with Gabrielle a lot too on the team. I don't mind saying it. I'm learning a lot about wholesaling and just the game in general from Gabrielle and the system that we use. So it's definitely like you were saying, we definitely get a lot of FUs, definitely get a lot of how'd you get this number, go jump off a cliff. It's just, it's a funny thing, but you kind of you gotta kind of like bring it down and not get all riled up by the person who just randomly texts you and like, okay, it's fine. No problem. No, we'll leave you alone.
Right.
Absolutely. And just pick up your process from there. So now you've got this list of potential home sellers, distressed home sellers. You described a list of people with tax liens, list of people who may be in pre-foreclosure, behind on their payments. You've now reached out to them via text, just so I'm clear on that, right? A bunch of them cussed you out, right? A handful of them were like, well, maybe I want to sell my house. Well, what happens from there?
Then it's a process. We go one of two ways. We either say, you know what, let me just go ahead and run some numbers, and I'm going to give you an offer. I'm just going to give you a range of an offer, sight unseen. And that way we kind of, we save ourselves and them the headache of continuing down what could be a long path of trying to meet up and negotiate.
Right.
Let's just see if we're even on the same plane to begin with.
And I love that, because if I'm a motivated seller, like I want this to be as simple as possible, right? I don't want to deal with calling a real estate agent, doing 30 showings, having to do inspection items. You're coming in and solving this major problem I might have. You don't even know if I have it yet. We got to keep qualifying that, okay? One of the things I find interesting about your marketing mix is I always see you with the not a realtor thing. So tell me why you find it necessary to differentiate yourself from a realtor. Because you mentioned you're selling in a non-traditional way, but how are you differentiating yourself with the market? How do you explain to people what you do and that you're not a realtor?
So it seems like every other day I'm having to tell people, like, I'm not a real estate agent. I am not a real estate agent, just over and over and over again. So now I share that. I post it as much as possible. I'm thinking about getting a tattoo.
On your forehead?
Across my forehead.
It's going to make it tough to get a realtor job later, though. So I don't know.
Unless you put it in the baby hairs, like real small, like to where people have to like squint at you. But I don't think you should do that.
That's not a good idea. Why? Why do you need that? Why do you have to explain that?
Well, I mean, a couple of reasons. One, because if someone is looking for a realtor, someone to list their house, to have multiple potential buyers come in and give highest bids and all that, that's not my thing. That's not what I do.
Right.
I'm not licensed to do that.
Right.
So I have to make it clear that that's not what I'm here for. And then on the other side of that is I'm making a point of that I can do what realtors can't.
Right.
So I can actually come in and tell you what I can buy your house for and buy your house for that amount.
Because you're a cash buyer, right? Or you represent cash buyers. You have cash buyers, right?
Right.
So you're in a whole different space, and I think that's a fascinating part about people wanting to get into the real estate industry who don't have the time nor desire. And I'll be honest with you, with all the legislation, it may not even make sense to get a real estate license right now. So that market differentiator is crucial, but it does mean you have to have access to capital,
right,
to buy the properties, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people getting in the game, that's their concern. So you get the property, you meet with the seller, you come up with a number that makes them happy. You're not trying to rip their heads off. It sounds like you're offering a fair price for the house, adjusted for condition.
Always, yeah.
Right? So, and then you've cut out real estate commissions.
Right.
You're cut out closing costs, all the expenses that are going there. For a lot of people, you've cut out holding time, right? Going on the market, waiting for it to sell, dealing with that process, right? So you're probably saving the money in this capacity. What now? I mean, you've locked the property up. Do you have a formal contract, or where do you get the contract to tie up the property?
Yeah, so a lot of people are surprised to know that anyone can use the state contract
Absolutely.
that real estate agents use every day. You can find that for free online. Simple Google search will get it for you.
Right.
So I do use that. It's a hellacious freaking 18-page contract.
Right.
But it's not that hard if you just read it. It's pretty easy to understand.
Sure.
And I had no training in that again, so just taught myself by reading it. And then in addition to that, we have a 1-page, very straightforward contract. Who's buying it, when they're buying it, what's being paid for.
Absolutely.
What are the options for inspection contingencies, or buying it completely as is. And that's it.
I mean, you make it sound so simple, but it is that simple, right? You've locked up the property. You've got it under contract at this point.
Right.
We're going to talk about what happens next, but isn't there money that needs to change hand? Doesn't the seller want an earnest money deposit? Like what do you offer them to lock the property up in most cases?
Most times $0.
Really?
Most times, yes.
So they're taking a discount on the property and they're letting you lock it up with no money out of pocket?
Correct.
Are they crazy, or are you just really good?
I think I'm just really good.
I love that. And I believe it. Because guys, here's the thing. A lot of this comes down to confidence, I think. And you're a powerhouse wholesaler. You've been doing this for how long have you been in the game? I want to say a while, but on the scale of things.
It really hasn't been that long. I did my first wholesale deal January of 2020.
So you're about a year and a half in the game.
Yes.
Right. And hold on for the numbers. I'm not going to give them to you right now, but you're about to get your mind blown. So I want you to stand by for that. Okay. But so you've locked the property. You've agreed to purchase the property for cash. So are you like Mrs. Moneybucks? Are you just sitting on like piles of change? And if so, like, can we hang out? Well, what's the story on that? Where do you come up with the cash?
Piles of change, yes. Millions of dollars, no.
Okay.
So I don't come up with the cash.
Right.
The money guys do. The money guys like Donnie Corm, the foreclosure deals coach.
Boom.
Traction Capital, come through and say, hey, look, I see you got a contract there. That's a good deal. I could make some money on it. Here's the money. So
talk to me in real numbers. Okay. What you're making versus what you're selling it for. Let's just use you have an example property you want to use specifically, or do you just want to do like a $200,000 house, or how would you like to position a deal that you've done where you got compensated for, and kind of share what you made on that?
Sure. We can do one that I recently did. It actually was brought to me by another wholesaler.
Okay.
I went under contract to purchase it at $260,000.
Okay.
The ARV, after repair value, which is the most important number to the investor.
We're going to talk about that in a bit.
Aside from the purchase price,
okay.
Right? Was, I want to say, roughly $440.
Good Lord.
So very great spread there.
Indeed.
So of course, I locked it up, and typically how my assignment fee works, that's how I get paid. So agents get paid
on
from a commission.
Right, which is a percentage.
Right.
Right.
Wholesalers get paid on an assignment fee.
Right. Is that more or less than the commission usually?
Usually it's less than a standard agent commission.
I see.
But it depends on the size of the deal.
Right. So you're paid off of the spread, the difference between the acquisition price.
Yep.
You're talking about 260 versus the ARV, after repaired value, which is 440 on this deal.
Yeah.
Did I buy that?
Yeah.
I got to start tracking these numbers better. Okay, so you bought it you locked it up. You didn't buy anything yet. You got a contract for 260. You took it to your cash buyer investor partner.
Right.
In this case, my company. But what did you offer it to the cash buyer at?
280.
Okay, so 260 to 280, locked up at 260, selling for 280. You're pocketing how much on that deal?
20 grand.
But you don't have a real estate license.
Nope.
You didn't put any money into this deal.
0.
Okay, so you made $20,000, which is a lot more, by the way, than you would have gotten paid as an agent in this case because the spread was so awesome.
Correct.
Right.
Because as an agent, what would it have been at 260? 3% of 260.
$7,200.
Right. So
Right.
more than double.
More than double, right? Why in God's name, when we talk to this crazy investor, why is he going to agree to pay 280 and you make 20 grand if he knows you got it for 260? Why would he do that?
Because he's buying it for 280. He's going to do about 20 to 25,000 worth of work to it and sell it for 440.
Right. So I feel like that both of you guys have benefited. You made 20 grand. And, the argument is I like to joke about making 20 grand for doing nothing. But when we start talking about the numbers, the amount of deals that you're doing, it really isn't doing nothing. We're going to get into that in a bit. But your end buyer here, your end user is the cash investor, in this case, me.
Right.
And I'm picking this property up at 280 and ecstatic about it, by the way. Right. Because the spread I'm going to make on this is awesome. Right.
Yeah.
And you're walking away with $20,000 for putting the contract together.
Yeah. Win, win, win. Okay. We also have to keep in mind how the seller is winning.
Absolutely.
Now the seller had this house for a long time. I don't know the full backstory, but there's always an important backstory that we're able to come in and offer a solution for this seller.
Absolutely.
That otherwise may have been not possible or just way too difficult.
Okay.
With their life circumstances.
Sometimes they just don't want to.
Right.
Yeah. How many times is it just you got a seller out of state dealing with problem tenants, which is a huge problem right now.
Oh yeah.
Right. Behind on payments. Right. Long lists of stuff. The basement flooded. Right. We could keep going, but the point is like you're solving their problem for them, and you're being pretty well compensated for solving that problem.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the idea behind wholesaling, and a lot of people getting into the industry right now. I would imagine, I'm the foreclosure deals coach. I'm coaching on the process of being that cash buyer, fixing up the property, listing the property for sale, dealing with all that rigmarole. I mean, it sounds like what you do is a lot less work than what I do. Maybe I should be doing more of that. Right.
But
Not necessarily though, right?
not necessarily. No.
Because you're running a team of wholesalers now.
Yeah.
Right. And I promise you guys, we're going to get into numbers here in a little bit. So we're going to start down that road now. But I want you to hear why I'm taking Gabrielle down this path. First of all, Gabrielle and I go back for the year and a half she's been in the industry. Okay. She's my primary wholesaler and I'm her primary buyer. Well, let's talk about that for just a bit. You work a lot with me, right? And I'm your primary cash buyer. Is that a benefit, do you think, to have one buyer who you just know is going to buy every deal that you bring to them? How is that beneficial to your process?
Absolutely. I think that that's the best choice that I've made from the time that I began this wholesaling journey. When my first couple deals that I did, you bought those properties, but I didn't know you.
Right.
You didn't have any type of contact with each other at that point.
Correct.
So I didn't really understand that this was even a possibility.
Sure.
To be able to have a dedicated cash buyer.
Yes.
Right. So since I teamed up with you and we've been working together, like I feel like I have it the best than any wholesaler out there because I can buy a property
and know
absolutely certain my buyer's going to buy it.
Absolutely.
And and when you say you're going to buy it, you buy it.
Absolutely. And that's an important factor on both sides of that, right? If you're going to get an exclusive relationship with an investor, right, it sounds like you're encouraging that, right? That they should go out and maybe find an investor who buys a lot of properties and work exclusively with one investor, or at least try to, right? Mm-hmm. Because you set up that relationship, because so much of this is based on the relationship, right? I trust when Gabrielle brings a deal it's actually a deal. And I tell you guys that on the show all the time. Don't waste actual investors' time with wood. If it's not actually a deal, don't present it. But once that was established, here's what I buy, here's my criteria for buying, then you started filling that need, filling that demand with properties. Now it's a no-brainer. You bring it, I pay for it, it's a done deal.
Right. Yeah. Now you barely even know what you're buying anymore.
Yeah, I'm literally losing track at this point, but that's how good this is. And in the meantime, it sounds like you're doing pretty well. Could you give me an idea since a year and a half ago? Do you know how many deals you've done? How many deals you've wholesaled off?
I have it written down. Let me.
We're bringing up the numbers.
Let me
Drum roll, please.
I don't want to drum on my mic.
It's probably going to take me a second.
All right, no worries. While you're looking that up, okay. I want you guys, we talk to wholesalers on this show all the time. We've done a couple clubhouse meetings where that was primarily people who were getting in the wholesale business. The takeaway, while Gabrielle's looking this up, is you can follow this process. You don't need a real estate license to be effective in real estate. And one would argue that the way things are today, you're probably better off without it. Okay, that's just a harsh reality of the time that we're in at this moment. Okay, next step is you've got to understand what to buy the property at, and to determine that, you have to know the after repaired value, or ARV. We're going to discuss a little bit more in detail on how Gabrielle determines that, but hear that, because whether you're using Propstream to do that, whether you have MLS access to do that, whether you're even, I've heard of people using Zillow. I find that nuts, but in certain markets, it's probably more accurate than other markets where they're using Zillow to determine their after repaired value. It would absolutely not work here in Colorado Springs, Colorado, because the market's just too crazy. Zillow's data is not that good. But in other places, it sounds like that accuracy is sufficient, right? Then you form a relationship with a guy or gal, who actually has money,
right, and
actually does deals. Right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people saying, if I go to a cocktail party and I say, hey, I'm a real estate investor, one of two things happens. One, a bunch of people say, man, I've always wanted to do that. Right? The second one is, I'm a real estate investor too. Oh, really? How many deals have you done? Right? Well, none. But I've been to a whole bunch of seminars, and one day I'm going to do my first deal. Right? You can't do business with that person as a new wholesaler. Right? Because you're generally not establishing an investor getting started in the game, but rather working with a proven system already, right? Which just sounds like what you did. You plugged into a proven system, yes. Right? So let's do the big unveiling here. You've been in the business about 18 months, okay? How many deals have you effectively wholesaled in that 18 months? Let's hear
it. 10 plus 11 plus 5 plus 4 plus 1 plus 2. What is that? 20... 31 deals.
I'm sorry. Did you say 31 deals?
Oh my God.
Right. So 31 deals in a year and a half. And we're not going to get into your income because you're going to have a bunch of suitors and you're a married woman. But that's a fascinating amount of money for someone who just started in the game a year and a half ago. Right. And what's fascinating about your story is when we first met, I remember you're a truck driver. Right. So you were out cruising the road and you decided you didn't want to be on the road anymore.
Yep.
Right. And so you transitioned into the wholesaling business. And I would tell you, we had another wholesaler on the show. We've had a couple wholesalers on the show, but nobody that I'm aware of that's done 30 deals in 18 months. That's insane. That's an insane amount of traffic. Right. So I would tell you guys that this formula, clearly it works. Like do the right business, be honest about your valuations, find one very solid cash buyer, and then fill their pipeline with so many deals. How many conversations have we had where I'm like, hey, like maybe if you could like not buy something for a while, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it happens more frequently than I'd like, honestly. We need to talk about that.
Yeah.
But I didn't
know there was going to be smoke today. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. Because if you're effective at what you do, that's going to be the sign. The sign of being effective is going to be that you're doing so much of it that you're actually asked to slow down a bit.
Turn it off a little bit. Turn off the faucet a little bit.
I don't know how. No, I don't know how.
So that
I'm not asking you. I'm trying to do it.
But I want this to be a motivation for all you guys listening to the show today, okay? Because today, at this very moment, you could stop what you're doing. I mean, owning your own trucking company doesn't sound that horrible to me, like as a way to make a living, right? It wasn't like it was bad,
No.
right? But 18 months ago, you decided, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to switch my entire life pursuit career into real estate. And now 18 months later, you're 31 deals deep,
Yes.
right? So it's just really a matter of making a decision.
Yeah, I think so. And just facing your fears and like being resourceful. There was so many things that I didn't know when I got into this
Right.
business. And although I had you to offer answers for a lot of the questions that I had, a lot of it I had to just fail.
Figure
As
it
you
out.
say, fail forward fast. I
Indeed.
had to just try stuff and try it and figure out, hey, that's not working. I got to try something else.
Absolutely.
I have to change my approach. I have to change my tone. I have to change my confidence level.
Absolutely.
All of these different things that I feel like I looked at it as there's no time to waste.
Amen.
I have to do it, and I have to do it now.
That's great. And it's actually in the tagline of the show. If you listen carefully to the opening credits, we talk about the best time to invest in real estate is right now. You got to get into this right now because the market is crazier than it's ever been. And the gap between the after repaired value and what you're buying stuff at is wider than it's ever been in history.
Yeah.
Okay. And wider than it's ever going to be again. Right. So you had a deal you wanted to go into detail over. I'd love to hear this story. You were telling me before we started the show about a deal you just had to talk about. Let's hear about this deal that you're working right now or that you're in the process of.
So you're currently under contract on this deal.
Okay.
In case you didn't realize that
This is how much I have going on right now.
So it was interesting going back from the beginning. So we pulled a list. Actually, this was a list of citations. So people who have received citations from the city.
For what?
We started all kinds of different stuff. It might be a citation because they have a parked car in front of the house with no plates, graffiti on their fence,
overgrown lawn,
right. So many different things that don't relate to an HOA.
Right.
That's something that people might misunderstand is it's an HOA citing them.
No, it's the city itself.
Just the city. Yeah.
Okay. So you could pull a public record of citation just by going down to your city office or going online or something.
Yes, which I don't do. I hire that out.
That's your staff handles that.
Yes.
Right. Because you're busy.
Yeah.
Right.
So we got this list and
Right.
it's a new list. So I'm excited. I'm like, there has to be some deals in here, guys. Let's work it.
Right.
So me and the team are working the list and there's probably a couple thousand contacts in here. And I'm like, I have some time. Let me just send some texts. I rarely have time to send texts anymore and communicate back and forth with potential sellers, but I sit down and I do it. And I'm actually in the middle of a training session and the guy responds back and he goes, yeah, I'll take 217 on my house. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. This is Colorado Springs. Nothing is selling for two anything.
Right. Absolutely. You hear two in Colorado Springs, you're like, where's it at?
Yep,
I'm on my way right now.
So I drop everything. I'm like, okay, wait, let's check this out. So I run the numbers real fast. I don't even do a full analysis. I just quickly look at like one or two houses in the neighborhood. And I'm like, okay, this looks like a deal. So I don't even text him back. I just call him. And I'm like, hey, this is Gabrielle. I'm with Diamond Home Buyers. I saw your message. Just want to let you know, I think that 217 might be reasonable. I'll know more once I see the house.
I love how coy you're playing right now. Like you're right, because we both know you're doing. You hear 217, we're buying this damn house, but like you're playing it cool. You're being professional. Yeah.
Oh, I was.
We might be able to make 217. We can make 217 work.
Yeah. I'm like, well, maybe. I don't know. I might have to come down a little bit.
But it's a negotiating tactic,
Yes.
right? You don't want to seem too over eager, right? Because that listen, we're not trying to dissuade any sellers or do anything wrong. The reality of this whole thing is effective negotiation skills. So I love that you're playing it coy a little bit. 217 might work. When I see the property, I'll evaluate it and we'll talk about it. But continue. I'm sorry. I had to point that out.
No, yeah, that's true. So he's like, oh, okay, well, let me see, my brother's living there. Let me see if you can get into the house. When do you have time? I'm like, I'm pretty flexible the rest of the day. Let me go out there and see it today. And that's another thing that's important about the wholesale game.
Okay.
Time is everything.
Speed.
Yes. How quick can you get it under contract?
Right.
So he calls me right back. And me and the gal I'm training, she's like, what? Like, we're both kind of shocked. He calls right back. And he's like, yeah, they said that they'll be there the rest of the night. You can go by anytime. Okay. I had another appointment. I canceled that appointment. I head down to the house and I do a quick walkthrough. Takes me 10 minutes. And I call him when I get back to the office and I'm just like, yeah, I think we can make 217 work. I would feel better coming in a little bit lower than that, but I want to make sure that you're getting what you need as well.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do 217 and we can close in about 2 weeks. And he's like, are you serious? He was so excited.
That's awesome.
And
Cool.
and Serena, who I'm training, she's like shocked because she's been working this system for a while and talking to lots of prospective sellers, and she's just like, what in the world? In a matter of an hour and a half, I went from contact to contract, literally.
Wow.
And let me just tell you some numbers on that one.
Please.
I locked it up. It ended up needing to come up to 220.
Okay.
They're in pre-foreclosure. So the payoff amount from the bank was actually 220.
Payoff's a little higher than we thought.
Right. Okay. Which is okay.
Yep.
So 220 needs probably about 25 worth of work.
Okay.
Maybe 30 worst case. And ARV is 330.
Hold up. Stop for a second. Stop. So you had to come up to 220.
Yeah, it was
right?
horrible.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you think the work on it's like 25, 30 grand?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're into it all in at 250. And you feel like we're going to back end this deal at 330.
Yes.
Can I give you a hug?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to, that'd be great.
Look, this is a wonderful.
Listen, hold on. We didn't. What do you think, studio audience? Yeah, baby. And this happened in an hour and a half. Now, obviously, you got to make some money on this deal, right? So you locked it up at 220. What are you keeping on that?
10 grand.
10 grand.
Or sorry, 11 grand.
11 grand, right? So I'm actually paying 231. Do you hear how I'm not upset about that?
Yeah.
Right. Because even though we went from 217 to 220 to 231, if the retail's 330, this is a great deal with $25,000-$30,000 worth of work required. You see what I'm saying? And that's the opportunity. Like you mentioned, the seller was ecstatic.
Yes.
They were happy. Like, are you serious? You can actually do this?
Yes.
Right. Your assistant, your new trainee was elated.
Yeah.
Right. Because people just don't believe this is happening, but it's happening every single day in this marketplace.
Right.
Now, the obvious question becomes, why would this seller not list the property if it's worth 330 fixed up? Why not put it on the market and get a higher price?
Well, I mean, it's definitely not worth 330 now.
Right. Because it needs work.
220 is a very fair number.
Based on condition.
Based on the current condition. It needs some work. It's ugly. He's out of state.
Mm-hmm.
His brother's living there. He's not even paying him rent.
Right. So he's got a family tenant problem, which is always a problem.
Right.
Right.
He doesn't want to move out.
Right.
So we're working that right now, trying to get him to sign a contract just saying, I will move out. If not, we know we're going to have to default to an eviction.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's a process we're used to.
Right. That's not something most homeowners are used to.
That's right.
So we're solving that problem for him. He's no longer going to be in debt with this house.
Right.
And
probably less stress in his life.
And we're making it happen quickly.
Right. So you see, all those factors were benefits, right?
And
Go ahead.
He doesn't have to evict his brother. Like, I'm sure.
Seriously.
I'm sure he's not too bent up about it. Like, oh man, I just trying to make some money. I didn't know they were going to kick you out, bro. That sucks.
That's weird. Huh? How come they kicked you out of the house afterwards? See you at Thanksgiving.
Man. Pass the sweet potatoes, please.
You still homeless, bro? Anyway. So yeah, I mean, you solved some problems here, right? You're clearing 10 grand, hour and a half from contact to contract. It's hard to say, but it's so amazing.
That's a bar. You need to put that on the shirt.
Yeah, that is a bar for sure.
From contact to contract, baby. You serve them up. That's incredible. Incredible. And that's the opportunity. And as the cash buyer, the part of this transaction, I'm a little biased because this deal went to me. So y'all can, but in general, I don't think there's a cash buyer on the planet that would have turned that deal down. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the seller's happy, you're happy, cash buyer's happy, house gets fixed up, and buyer's happy.
Yes.
4 people are made happy in an hour and a half. Everybody made money in that transaction. Nobody got hurt, and we're all in a better spot than we were before.
Yep.
Right.
And even the tenants are going to get offered cash for keys because we always do that.
Yeah.
So they have an opportunity to get some money and move out.
Right. We're not like trying to kick people out on the streets, but the reality is you ain't paying rent. House belongs to somebody else. Just a matter of time.
Right.
Right. So you're just kind of pushing them back into the real world a little bit and maybe paying them on the way out the door for heading back into the real world.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to look at it, man, because a lot of times people, especially it seems nowadays, they kind of live in this, man, rent. What do you mean? What? Landlords? What do you mean?
Like a year off. It's like, a year later, it's like, hey, we got to do that rent thing again.
It's like, I don't know. I don't really like that. I don't really like that anymore. That's not cool. So it's like you said, you got to push them back into the real world. You got to help people out. And these are real world solutions that we're offering.
Everybody benefits from it. Everybody's happier in the end.
We're not here to steal anybody's house. We're not here to do anything, hurt anybody on the back end. And, this is conversations that you have to have with people that are texting and that you're talking to. But just like, this is how it happens. Like you said, people are made happy. They're ecstatic. It's great.
Yes.
And it all just starts by an initial contact and offering a solution to their problems. That's what we do.
We solve problems.
Yep.
Right. And I think every wholesaling outfit out there should be focused. We talk about this on the show all the time. We're focused on helping solve problems. And here's the thing, regardless of your profession, if you're a doctor, you solve health problems, right? If you're a lawyer, you solve legal problems, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're a real estate professional, whether it's licensed, unlicensed, wholesaler, retail, real estate agent, whatever, you need to focus your attention on solving the problem, not lining your pocket. Right. And that's a critical element to why people are either super successful in the wholesaling space or they're not so successful.
Yeah.
Right. If you look at it from that mindset, if I can help people solve the problem, I think you make a lot more.
And helping people get into the business. So I just want to note, like, of those 31 deals that I've done. So again, I started my first wholesale deal January of 2020. And I have it lined out. You guys can't see it here, but I have a graph actually that shows my first quarter by quarter from January of last year.
Well, give us that post if you don't mind that going public. We'd love to put that on the show, but it's a lot of proprietary information. But we'd love to give people some feel. I mean, show me that graph again. Like, it looks like it just kind of, that's a hell of a growth cycle.
Yeah. So
ramped up considerably.
It's not really a graph. It's more like up.
Yeah. So first year in this wholesaling journey, I did 9, 10, 11, 12 deals.
Okay.
One full year, 12 deals.
That's one a month.
So since then, we're just now getting close to quarter 3.
Yep.
And the rest of the 31 deals have been done in 2 quarters.
That's crazy. It's just crazy, but it can be done. Some of it's belief, a lot of it's leadership, a lot of it's systems, a big part of it's marketing. This is thinking like a CEO, this is thinking like this is a whole business set up with the design of helping homeowners in problematic situations to get an offer on the property. Here's the thing. We're simply making an offer.
Yeah.
Right. How many times do these sellers say, no, there's no way I'd ever take that amount for the property?
Most of the time.
Right. Because if your offers are being accepted most of the time, you're doing something really wrong. Right.
Not making money on the back end if everybody's.
Your rejection rate needs to be extremely high. That's how you make money in this industry.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And that's something that you taught me when I first came into this. I was very hungry for the deals, for the money.
Right.
And you were like, you got to let that go. It might be a while before you get the deal, but don't waste your time with potential deals that actually don't make any sense on paper. The numbers don't work. They don't work.
Right. And don't waste your investors' time, right? If you cement a relationship with a cash buyer in your local market, understand that you got like 2 or 3 shots to send some BS deals his or her direction before they're going to stop taking your calls.
Yeah.
That's just reality.
Yeah.
Right. So the lesson that we teach in Foreclosure Deals Coach, we're going to get to your coaching product here in just a little bit. But what we teach is that you got to wait. It's like fishing. You got to wait till you catch something. Right. Don't try to hook something on, don't go out there and put a hook on. You might catch a tree. right? And if you're kind of trying to catch a fish, that tree ain't going to taste very good, right? So you have to wait for the right deal to come along by making intelligent offers to motivated sellers. It's critical,
Right?
not sellers. There's a bunch of houses on the market, not near enough, but there's a bunch of houses on the market. You have to talk to motivated sellers, make them cash offers, and see which ones stick.
Yep.
Incredible. That's incredible. It's just an amazing story. So let's, if somebody wanted to work with you and learn what you learn and kind of follow what you're doing, what you mentioned, you're on Insta. Talk to me, Investor Lady G. How do they find Gabrielle Simmons out there and get in contact with you?
So Facebook for sure is probably the number one way. Gabrielle Simmons. From what I hear, I'm one of like the first ones that come up when everybody searches the name. So if you don't know who it is, just click on the page and you'll tell by the description that it's me. I'm talking about investing and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's Gabrielle-Simmons.com.
Yes, Gabrielle-Simmons.com.
Okay.
I have coaching sessions available for purchase on my website.
Cool.
I have the Basics to Wholesaling Guide, which is tons of valuable information packed into I think it's 9 or 10 pages.
Excellent.
It goes over everything. I mean, everything about the basics to wholesaling. And it's very affordable as well on my website. In addition to that, anyone who's local here in Colorado Springs and wants to work with me and my team can definitely reach out and we can see if it's a good fit. I'm very particular about who joins my team.
Of course.
And I need, top performers. I need rock stars. I need people who are super motivated and just obsessed with this game. So yeah, that's how people can get in contact with me. Or on Instagram, I'm actually Trucker Lady G. I'm having a hard time parting from the Trucker Lady.
Once you go trucker, not really sure where to go from there. All right.
I married one, so
there you go. So many places I could go with that, but they're all so bad. All right. So let's continue from there. Cool. So at Trucker Lady G on Instagram, Gabrielle-Simmons.com. Facebook's a big presence here. If you're local here in the Colorado Springs market, want to start your wholesaling career, I recommend Gabrielle all the time as a great way to get started in the wholesaling business, whether you're local or across the nation. She can help you to replicate her system that got her to 31 deals in a year and a half period in the business, which is just staggering, mind-blowing how much business she's putting together right now. And I encourage you, as I talk about all the time, to get started today. The market is changing as we speak. Just want to touch on that real quick, okay? Because a lot of states are starting to regulate wholesalers. A lot of states are trying to make what you do, let's just say it, illegal, right? Like, what's your take on that? What's the future of wholesaling for you?
I don't really know. I think at this point, I'm not too concerned with it. I feel like I have a good system in place where we're constantly changing and trying to keep up with the changes that are going on with the texting systems and the regulations.
Mm-hmm.
But I really, at this point, wholesaling is a means to acquiring rental property and Airbnbs.
Love it.
So wholesaling is not necessarily my livelihood. I know that I can do other things in the real estate space and still make substantial amounts of money. I know I still have the truck driving business. I can expand that and just so many different things. I mean, I encourage the people who join my team as well to have other businesses and have other ways of making money than just wholesaling. Because it is a transactional business. So long as you can complete a transaction, you're good. But what happens
might
when
come a day
you
when
no
you can't
do those transactions?
It's a great philosophy. I always tell people real estate's a means to an end. Nobody woke up as a kid in third grade and was like, I want to be a real estate agent. That just hasn't happened, right? What has happened though is people are realizing that if you can take the money you can make in this very lucrative industry and transition it to whatever other industry you're passionate about. Not that I'm not super passionate about real estate, just that you have to have diversified investments. You got to have a portfolio that goes outside of that. And we encourage people as part of my coaching and your coaching to take that income and rotate it into passive investments, rental properties, Airbnbs, a Turo business, long list of things, but you have to take that capital and diversify some of it into something else. Now, that's really the takeaway. I'm so glad you brought that up. Hey, listen, I want to wrap up. We don't want to carry this on too long. Thank you so much for being on the show. I mean, I could talk to you forever. I'd love to have you back on and talk about your team and the leadership capacity and what you've grown. I think a lot of people would benefit from that. Would you come back on and join us some time and do that?
Absolutely.
In the meantime, you guys got to look this girl up. Friend her on Facebook, Gabrielle Simmons. Just like it sounds, go to Gabrielle-Simmons.com. Look in the show notes right here. We're going to put the link to her website in there so you can reach out to her, blow up her inbox, DM her, tell you love the show. Right? That this is the most amazing show you've ever heard. That's what we're looking for, to get that kind of feedback. The time to get into wholesaling is right now. And Gabrielle, you're leading the charge. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Keep up the great work.
I appreciate all of your encouragement and support and mentorship along the way. I know we didn't start this business relationship with the idea of you necessarily being my mentor, but you have mentored me so much throughout this process.
Thank you.
I would not be where I am today if it weren't for you.
That means a lot. Thank you for saying that. With that, we're going to wrap up the show today. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. The time to get into real estate investing is right now. The place is wherever you happen to be, because right around the corner, there's a deal. Gabrielle's finding them left and right. You got to get out there, start looking, change your life, make some movement, and get going. With that, we're going to remind you, as we do each and every week on the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast, if you're out there looking at real estate, don't you dare buy a house, buy a deal.
Want more of the Foreclosure Deals Coach? Hit subscribe and stay tuned for more of the mindset, methodology, and tools you'll need to invest in foreclosures. Visit foreclosuredealscoach.com and text DEAL to get a list of foreclosures in your area.